Welcome to Chapman on Air. My name is Mia Ray, and I am here with the one and only Brian Chapman. Thank you for joining us for our 15-year anniversary special. This is part 2 of our 15-year anniversary special. We're here with Brian Chapman, not the original 2.0, and his wife, Julie. So last time you were with us, we talked about the early days of Chapman Insurance Group.
Pre-days.
Yeah, the pre-days of Chapman Insurance Group. We kind of left you off with the opening of the first Chapman Insurance office. But there's a part that a lot of people don't see, and that's what's happening behind the scenes. So we want to dive a little bit deeper into that. While all of this was happening, all those fun little stories and the dreams that weren't realized, and then finding out that there was a bigger dream there. You had a family at home.
Yes, so then that's why Julie comes in to our discussion here, my wife. I'm a little bit nervous about this because there's a lot of stories that I don't remember from those days. Kids and life and just, personal life took a little bit of a taxi for, business life, particularly for me. And so Julie, did a lot of the heavy lifting at home. And I think, looking back to those moments with her and us working together with growing family, and then her time there and my time on the growing business, and trying to make a balance. It's tough, right? I mean, that was a tough time. When you look back to Julie, to whenever I gave you the idea and gave you the vision, what did you think of, like, how is this going to impact our future family, because we didn't have kids?
Well, yeah, we didn't have kids. I think I knew you, and I knew that when you do something, you always go like 195%. So I was like, oh, great. This is going to be.
This is all in.
Yeah, this is going to be all in and time consuming.
I think the way that, like you've expressed that to me is like, you don't have a halfway button. Like there's no 50%.
Right.
But I think I parallel that to our family too. It's like you go to the family and it's like, all right, I'm all in. Like, it's like, how many kids are we going to have? Like, how many kids do you want to have?
Right.
And, me coming from a family of 5 and you coming from a family of 2, but wanting more than 2. I think those early days, the impact and the forming and the shaping of, CIG and our family, we kind of joke, it was like for every office we opened, we added a kid.
Right.
Because when I started, the journey of Chapman Insurance Group, we didn't have any kids. And that about 6 months in, I think you were pregnant about when I started.
I think so, yeah.
And 6 months into starting, we had Kate, our now 13-year-old, working on 14. And it was like, okay, like, what do we do? And like, how do we do this? And, we're new parents and
I feel like the only way I survived was having my parents very close and my grandparents.
Yeah.
Because they were right down the street.
Yeah.
I wasn't always alone.
I remember you were working. Did you have your nurse practitioner license yet, or ARNP?
That was 2011.
2011. So we were working towards that, but you were working at in the emergency room, I believe, when I started. What was that like? Because we ended up having to work together to support the business. I think you ended up moving to weekends. And so,
I did. I was thinking about that. I remember I did nights and I did weekends. Yeah. And then you worked all week and had the grind with the kids all weekend while I worked all weekend.
Yeah.
So
I
just remember that Monday morning after working Sunday night and you would leave and I had the kids. I remember like, I have had no sleep and I'm so tired and I could not wait for nap time.
Tough.
The struggle. Yeah.
No, it was a tough time. I think when we look back, I love that classical saying of like, long days, but fast years. Yes. When you can go back to those specific moments, it was like, these are some really long days. But then the years, 13, 14 years and now 15-year anniversary for CIG. It's like, wow, it was fast. It was like, and you remember the tranches. What was the hardest part when I was working, 12, 1 at night, up at 6 or 7? Like, what was the hardest part for you in those days?
Well, I think the days were long because I was home all day by myself with the kids.
Right.
And so, toddlers at home are not easy. And you get really tired, and adult conversation is always nice. So I feel like sometimes I think I would just like call you and he'd be like, do you need something? It's like, no, I don't really need anything. And I knew he was like slightly irritated, but he never like said he was irritated, but like, all right, well, I'm just working. It's like, okay, I'll let you go.
I do remember, like kind of on a personal moment driving home and, having that, it's late night, you're driving home and you're absolutely exhausted, physically, mentally exhausted. And I remember thinking like, you know what, I'm not going to do this forever. Like I can't do this forever. And then it turning into a conversation where it's like, I won't do this forever, because it was really tough, and like limited sleep with kids and, the financials, trying to live life, when you're starting a business for all the business owners out there, they know like, when you start something from zero, it requires full attention and full resources. And, those were peanut butter and jelly sandwich days. And you realize, I think too, like in that whole process, like what is important, I think at the end of the day, like you realize, okay, what is really important? Like what really matters, and I take your perspective on that. I mean, I have my ideas, even today and how that's molded, but like when you look back, like even in those moments, what was your perspective on where we were going to go and what we were going to do as a family?
Sometimes those got a little bit foggy for me with the dreams and like, I don't know, is this ever going to happen? Are we ever going to get to eat dinner together as a family? Ever in like our entire like, and still that's still a, not very often thing unless it's the weekends because everyone's schedules now are so busy. But I feel like it was just the little things like, are we ever going to get to enjoy like a weekend?
Right.
With, like all of us together. Cause I feel like a lot of times it was just me with the kids or you with the kids or.
Right. We had the 5 kids. It was 2009, 11, 12, 13, and then 15. Right?
We won't ask you to
you don't
say
have
their
to recite
birthdays.
those back to me, but we'll call it 5 kids in 5.5 years. I don't recommend it. Okay. First of all, you better be ready for it.
Right.
I feel like we were ready for it because we knew we wanted to do it. Right. And so you figure out how to make things work. But I think additional things that added to our plate were the relocating our home. And so, we moved into our house in 2007 and then we grew out of that house and we moved to a new house in 2013 and then really ultimately figured out where we wanted to be and moved again in 2016.
Right.
I mean, it was a gauntlet.
I remember the 2013 move because we moved.
You were a month
We moved like Halloween. It was Halloween and I had my 4th child like 10 days later, 8 days later, and Brian was supposed to pick up the U-Haul to help us move and he, in true Brian fashion was like, hey, Julie, I'm not going to be able to make it to the U-Haul place before they close to get the U-Haul. So I need you to go over there and get the keys. So I have to load up all the kids and I show up at the U-Haul place and I'm like trying to get the U-Haul. And I just remember the guy looking at me like,
this lady's 8.5, 9 months pregnant.
Are you doing the moving? You look like you're very pregnant. And I'm like, well, my husband couldn't make it here to get the truck. I promise he will be here to like help with the move. And we have like people coming to do the moving. And he was like, intimidated to give me the keys. He was just like, okay.
And did he make it though? Did he eventually make it?
I made it for the move. That was picking up the U-Haul.
He did not make it for the U-Haul pickup.
And how many kids at that point?
Well,
we only had 3.
I
was pregnant with the 4th, but I was like literally 10 days. So
more than 9 months pregnant, really.
Yeah. We did take some, family trips in there. They were mostly local ones, but do you have any memories of like, this was like this was our fun moments. I mean, it's becoming a lot of fun now because our kids are getting a little bit older.
Like you mean with family moments, like kids?
Yeah,
moments,
I think the family moments and like, the CIG moments.
I mean, I feel like we did the beach condo that your aunt and uncle owned on the other coast. We did that a few times, and it was nice because we didn't have to go because no one was in school, so we could go like at random times when it wasn't busy and nicer weather. But we really enjoyed doing that.
We did.
And the kids still talk about
The
that.
beach condo,
and we
yeah.
show the video of Cade walking into the sliding glass door.
Yeah, that was
Hit
a
his
fun
head.
moment.
I think one of my
First time he'd ever seen the beach, and he was mesmerized
Yeah.
and walked right
Aw.
into the slider.
and then he's like,
Ouchie.
And you caught that on
Brian's-
video?
And we caught it
Oh,
on
we have
video.
video of
And
it.
Brian's like laughing.
I was laughing.
And I'm like yelling at
sorry.
him, like,
I
stop
laughed when-
laughing. I'm not recording the video.
Serving you is our policy. Chapman Insurance Group.
One of the questions we're being asked a lot right now is, why are my insurance rates increasing? One of the main drivers of the cost of your insurance policy is something called reinsurance that's behind the scenes. That cost used to be about 20 to 30% of your policy premium, and today it's nearly 50% for every dollar that you buy of insurance. This is very similar in an analogy to the milk that you buy off of a shelf. The cost to feed the cow has increased, the cost of bottling has increased, the cost of delivery of the product to the shelf has increased, and therefore we as consumers are paying more. One thing you can count on though from Chapman Insurance Group is that we will find the most competitively priced product with the best options for you, and that's a guarantee you can count on.
CIG. CIG.
One of the best, like, early day CIG moments I remember was, I don't even know what time you came home. It was really late, but you like woke me up and you were like so excited. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you're never going to guess. You're never going to guess what happened to me. And I'm like, okay. It's like 2 a.m. I'm like, I'm trying to sleep because the kids are going to be up in
Any
3
second,
hours.
basically.
Yeah. And he's like, look, like I was walking out to my car and he's like, and then I just saw this like a glare of like, I don't know, it was something. And there was an alligator underneath his car.
Oh.
And it
random
and
and
you caught it like on your old
I
like
have it on
flip
the,
phone
like one of
video.
or
It's
the
like
original
so
iPhones.
so
the OG.
tiny.
So I walked outside the back door. It's late. The parking lot's empty. We hadn't even moved into our first building yet, and there was a 5-6 foot gator under my car, and no one's there. And I mean, like,
And it's so dark.
you talk,
back
I mean,
there.
I grew up Floridian, Southwest Florida. Like, we see gators all the time. Well,
Not
I've never
phased.
had one under my car.
Yeah.
That was, hanging out in the little pond or the lake in the back. That was a moment where I'm like, okay, like, how do I handle this, this gator? This is pretty challenging. I'm taking pictures, and, I survived, obviously. So fun parts of our story, as Chapmans, is our adoption stories. We always wanted to adopt. It was a part of, we knew it was going to be a part of our family.
Right.
So, I mean, not to take anything away, 5 kids is a lot, but three of them you had in that 5.5 years, and 2 we adopted. I think that's kind of interwoven in our story on, the commitment to, providing someone a home. And we've always wanted to do that, but your perspective on our adoption journey, and I have mine.
Oh,
too.
I mean, I thought it was great. I didn't have to be pregnant. I never felt better after I brought a baby home. I'm like, this is nice.
I have all my energy.
Yeah, I slept great last night. So I mean, no, it was a journey. It was a process. I feel like I did most of the legwork on like the paperwork and all the fine details.
So our third,
But
number 3 is our Ty man, or Ty Reagan, and then our Oakley is number 5
Number five.
in our lineup, and that was in 2012 and 2015. When those 2 adoptions took place. I remember my parents. We talked to my dad earlier. They always wanted to adopt, and they ended up having the oops and the whoops that we talked about with Josh and Caleb. And I think that kind of, when you hit the 5 number for them, it was kind of like, okay, this might not be something that we
They were
do.
all set
But
there.
that resonated with me back when I was young. And so I always cling to adoption, not really understanding all the components of it, even at a young age. And you have a different perspective on the adoption because your parents had looked into adoption.
Yeah, and one of my best friends growing up was adopted. And so
Right.
I always thought that was really cool. And her story is just amazing. And so it was just always something that was like not foreign to me because I grew up with that.
Right.
So it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, this is a really cool thing. And I think it'd be really great for our family and a good way to grow our family
Right.
as fast as we wanted to grow our
Right.
family. So
Yeah, you had to keep things interesting because it,
Yeah.
you know, was probably getting really boring with building a business. And
Well, I think you go through the journey, and we leveraged a lot of people that had done it before us and asking them, the questions. And I think, and now going through it twice, we now have mentored many families through the adoption process, and it's very near and dear to our heart, and something that we are intimately involved with because there's a lot of questions. And I think adoption is probably the most beautiful thing that we can do as humans, and it's the most selfless thing the mother can do, and actually giving up her child to be given up is such a hard thing. It's such a selfless act, so that child can be given a home and given a different opportunity that they have to take and understand that maybe they can't provide.
Right.
Like, that's very difficult.
I feel like that's the conversation that I always have with the kids
Right.
when they ask about it. It's like, they loved you so much, they wanted better for you,
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of people have the notion that, adoption is like, well, you weren't wanted, and actually it's the opposite, And then we give a hard time to, in a little more humor to our kids. It's like, hey, we got to pick them. We didn't get to pick you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, somebody told me the other day, I don't remember, I think it might have been Oakley. I don't know, but somebody said something to her about
One of the kids.
being adopted, and she's like, my parents had to pay for me because they wanted me. It's like,
that's how special I
That's
am.
so cute.
Yeah.
The mind of a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Because that's a question a lot of people have. How do you have those conversations? Is it a tough conversation to have with your children?
I mean, I feel like we've just kind of like,
We're very open about it. And I
Yeah.
think that's the right approach with adoption. Is it's not a secret.
Right.
And, if you're loved and you're cared for, and, you have a human father and a human mother, let's have these discussions, and let's have them early and often. And if
but
you have questions,
the older they get, though, the more jokes they like to play on
they do
people.
play jokes on each other.
On people.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my brother. No, that's not your brother. Yo, that's my brother. Like, or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll still.
Kind of as a final thought, and just looking back in those early days of CIG, and just our family and our dynamic, and any thoughts you have
I
on
mean,
that?
I feel like not much has changed. It's still crazy as ever.
Once in a while, I'm late home. Yeah, I tell you,
Every
I'm on
once in
my
a while?
way.
I mean,
I'm on my way, and then
You have
30
more
minutes
dinners
later-
together now, I'm assuming.
no, normally he just eats leftovers with
I do.
whatever
I'm
we
still,
had
I'm
for
still
dinner.
a leftover guy.
He's usually late.
But now we've got basketball and volleyball.
We're
and,
kind
Right.
of used
and
to that.
kids. And
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good to see, like, you doing something that you love to do and your passion and your dedication to helping people. And, it's good to see your gifts put to good use.
Sure.
Yeah. If you wanted to say anything, either one of you, to some people who are watching now who might be in that stage of their life, they're maybe having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for dinner, to build something better for their family and their future, what would you say to them in that moment?
Keep fighting.
It is a journey, and you have to be consistent and persistent. We've been blessed. We're strong in our faith, and we've built a good village around us with great friends, great family around us. You've got to have people in your corner to support you. No matter how much money you make, no matter how much success you have to have those relationships around you, because that's what's most important in life.
Yeah, I think for me it would be, don't be afraid to ask for help. Like when you're, like if someone offers to take your kids for a night so you can go to dinner with your
Right.
husband, say yes. Like, don't feel bad. Don't feel like you owe them something. Like, people are
Yeah.
asking because they want to help. And a lot of
Right.
people can't help you monetarily, but they can help you in the small ways, which are actually big ways.
Right.
So learning to take help. Like, if your mom says, hey, can I come help fold your laundry for you? Say yes.
Yes,
like,
noted.
Those are the things. Don't feel like you have to do it all yourself, because everybody can't do everything themselves.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
I think that was like a big thing I had to learn, was just saying yes to help and
Yeah.
humbling yourself enough to know that you actually do need help,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Next chapter for our family and my dad, and we got to talk to him about how exciting it was that he came to work, or I came to work for him, and I asked him to come to work for him. That culture's been continued in our family, and I think our kids jokingly say, some of them, not all of them, that one day I'm going to go work with dad in insurance, and I think that it's,
No, they just say they want to be on the billboards.
they want to be on the billboards and
Okay,
the buses.
that's
yeah.
really
I can
what
help
it
with
is.
that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we want to be on the billboards.
Message to the kids is it requires that work ethic, and that's something we're instilling in them at a young age. And when that work ethic, it doesn't exist, there's no results.
Right.
And I think as Julie and I balance our roles for our family, she has a much softer way of saying that than I do. Because I'm a little bit more a little bit more regimented, and I think our kids understand. The kids will naturally learn how to manipulate a situation and leverage. Okay, if I ask mom, or I have to ask dad. So I think just being consistent with our kids and know that we know that you're doing that.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get
The smart ones too, though. Gotta
Yeah,
tell you.
and sharing the positives and the negatives. I mean, they see the long, tireless hours you put in. Just the positives and negatives of being successful, but also you don't just be lazy and be successessel.
Right.
So,
Sacrifice goes
yeah,
into it.
sacrifice
Yeah.
and work ethic.
At the end of the day, all of that is for them, really.
It is. It's setting them up. It's the steps on the stairwell.
Yeah. Adding more steps.
More steps. That's
Yeah.
it.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for
I'm glad you
having me.
came in. I love you, honey.
Love you too.